It led me to guys like you too, and it's been rewarding seeing what you guys have been able to build in here and to see where it goes.
Yeah, we're stoked. We love it here, and yeah, he came home one day and was like, "There's like a radio studio there. Do you think I should go in and ask?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he came home. He's like, "Yeah, they want a proposal of what we do," and so I just put our heads together and got the whiteboard out, and then so here we are, and it's been great because we've been trying to do a podcast format since 2012, both being in different locations, so timing, the consistency wasn't always there, and then there was always that kind of self-consciousness of not really having the proper equipment to put out like the sound quality of the call-ins, because we were doing it remotely, so my voice would be at a different level than his, so that kind of held us back a little bit. But so now that we've been able to come in here, it's like we're in heaven.
High school
6 people.
Yeah, right. Epidemic. It's no coronavirus, but
The World Health Organization declared that the coronavirus crisis is now a pandemic.
This astounding and unprecedented story continues to evolve. The NBA is suspending the season.
NHL regular season suspended. MLB spring training is over. Major League Soccer season suspended. March Madness canceled. A slew of conference basketball tournaments were also canceled.
What's up, y'all? This is Airy Bros Radio Mixtape Volume 3, The COVID Sessions. Tell them what we got, Prince.
We're going to give the fans of Airy Bros Radio an inside look of how the boys of 1512 went from the studio at Met Radio and took the show to 140 South Clarkson Street and kept it rolling during the COVID lockdown. And we're going to give them some really good guests and give them the feedback of what our guests think about what's going on in the world right now and how they're dealing with the COVID lockdown. This is a good one, Dog Pound. You're going to enjoy it.
Yo, this is Airy Bros Radio Mixtape Volume 3, The COVID Sessions.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Airy Bros Radio.
Much love. Namaste. From the boys of 1512.
The police won't even fuck with them.
They won't mess with them? Turn it off. Just log yours out.
We're going to need to, because
We don't need to.
Yeah, it's echoing.
talking, how am I going to hear him?
Because it's going to be on this one. It's just straight reverb.
But it's going to pick up on the microphone if we don't have headphones on. Think about it.
Can't have two computers.
I see you three up top.
What's up?
It's pretty cool. I can see both of you up top.
Yeah, we're going to start doing virtual happy hour.
Man.
All right, we're recording.
Your echo.
Huh? I'm right here.
Just telling you that you're echoing there's reverb on your end coming from you.
How do you know it's not you?
I can hear you all along.
So what are you yelling?
I didn't yell once.
You did. You're reverbing. Like I make up the technology.
I'm just telling you, dude, just because you fucking... I just need to hit up Derek and go over those other ways to fine-tune the sound other than normalizing that one day he showed us.
Yeah. It's just like that's gonna take forever.
No, I think it's the same thing as like highlighting it and hitting the whole thing. I don't think you have to go through like individually.
Sitting in space on the toilet bowl.
Sounds definitely better in there.
Sweet. I'll just put my cool background up. So, yo, when we're talking to Boz, if you talk or I talk or whatever, and I don't answer for a little bit, that's just because there's a delay on our end because we're on Zoom. Because I can hear you. I can hear you talking, and
I know.
all
I can
right,
hear you.
cool. Do you wanna? All right. Do you want me to go fuck with that now till he calls?
See how it sounds. I'll send you the.
You got questions?
I'll send you the clip from today too.
All right. What about questions for Boz? What are we doing? Are we just winging it?
Might be good to have some ideas.
All right.
What's up, dog?
Can you hear me or no?
Now I can.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, nice headset, dog.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna see. Let me know, Jimbo, what comes out better. These are the AirPods.
Yeah,
that's actually coming through pretty good. You know what? My kids, Jack and Sam have a gaming headphones. Maybe I should kick over to those too.
Yeah, because Richie's gonna have his on, so if we can get all of us on it with the headphones, you know, you got to think of it as just like having the mic right there to your face, so it's gonna funnel the sound and what have you.
I stole these from Morgan.
Yeah, my kids have more expensive headphones than I do.
Nice. Nice.
So, talking about transitioning and kind of learning new jobs with the state of the world right now.
Yeah.
What do you got going on with CrossFit? How are you guys kind of counteracting all this? What is your role entail in all this?
It's a great question. Dude, number one, I don't know where you got that background, but it is nice.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm underdressed, you know?
Well, that's what happened to me. I'm a college student right now, and everything went on Zoom, and I go to first day of class, and I'm the only one without a cool background, so I had to download the cool Zoom.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I'm totally behind the times here. Anyway, what was the question? Oh, what am I doing? What are we doing? What's the world? Yeah, okay. So we've actually spent this week trying to film a bunch of lecture content and things that people would experience at the level 1, and we're trying to figure out how we can best get that available to people, despite the fact that they can't be there in person. Level 1 is kind of the bread and butter of our seminars. It's obviously the foundation of so many things that we offer on top of that, and not being able to conduct those seminars in most places of the world right now is weird. So we're trying to figure out a way that we can offer at least part of that to people that are stuck at home and whatever else. So big part of that was trying to capture a bunch of content for it this week. So that's why I had to miss you guys on Monday. We were here scrambling, and been here all week, like just a million hours a day, trying to figure something out. So yeah.
When did the executive order come down that you guys were gonna put a hold on all the level 1s?
It's one of those things, and this is kind of outside my level of expertise because I'm not super involved with that team anymore. But it was, from my understanding, we have staff worldwide at this point, and we conduct seminars worldwide. And so it was kind of region by region. It started off as like, okay, we're getting seminars shut down in obviously Asia and parts of that, parts of the world over there. And then it was like Europe started shutting down a little bit more, and it just kind of cascaded from there, is my understanding. And so at this point, I think we're pretty much, I don't know if there's any still happening. At last I heard that they are actually starting to open back up in some of the places that have been affected originally, so like China's starting to open back up a little bit. I think we actually have some seminars scheduled there now. So it's just kind of weird, because it was never like a hard stop. It was just basically, hey, there's places in the world that are obviously at different stages of this whole thing, and that's kind of how we played it. So yeah.
What are you getting from your coaches around the world in terms of what they're dealing with right now? Is the climate very similar all around?
No, it's so I'll give you some examples. I have a coach in Iran that I speak to frequently. They have a lot of hardship that no one hears about that's going on over there. I really feel for him. He has great intentions, differing beliefs than I have, politically and religiously and just philosophically. But he's in the space to help people understand movement and fitness, right? But he's having people drop like flies, around them in a system that can't support a big growth of that, right? So I feel for him. I have a coach in Italy, Vincenzo Greco, who I haven't heard from in 3 weeks. Like, he just went black because when that went peak over there, they shut everything down, and then basically everyone just stopped doing everything, seemingly, right? And they're in real hardship. I have a coach in Taiwan who I was just speaking to this morning. They haven't even got to civil regulations on what you can do. You know what I'm saying? So now all they're doing is keeping people from coming into the country, and then they really don't have this social distancing regulatory system that's put up. They've just been doing group classes last week, as an example. Wow. So, and then, I have a client in Singapore who just went on lockdown, and their system and government is not set up to do paybacks to people who are told now that they can't do business. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have this a little bit of a pillow to fall on right here in the United States and possibly in Canada as well. And you could argue over what those percentages should be and what it should look like on the payback. But imagine if you have nothing. Your government just said, stay at home, don't work. And how are we going to pay? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no answer to that. It doesn't mean they're not going to have it, but he's like, dude, we're just dealing with this right now, but it doesn't guarantee that we're going to be able to reboot the system back up, and we got to stop it for a number of weeks, right? What's another example? I got a client down in Colombia. He used to be in Venezuela. He's close to Venezuela. He's right on the border. And it's a shit show there in regards to what they're allowing people to do with fitness and what, as you know, who's the authority figure there. They're basically run by guerrillas, especially in the area that he is. And they're maintaining, let's call it peace, but there's still this loose concept as to what you can do for fitness or gathering, etc. And it's at that precipice where and he knows that if something happens there where people start getting infected at a higher rate, they have no system to support it. No system to support it. So it could end up being these little pockets that are elsewhere. To answer your question, I got a pulse on it around the world, and there's no one story that's the same, but it's all sobering, really, to realize what we have and what we don't have in front of us. And lastly, just reflecting on it, is that a lot of people listening to this, and maybe you guys, you're only getting information from what the big system wants you to get information on. You know what I mean? And if I reach out and start talking to these people around the world, it opens your eyes to the filter of what information is. You know what I'm saying? We have 3 gyms as well in Riverdale, Brooklyn, and Mount Sinai in the Northeast. These guys, when they get on our calls, you could see it in their face. Like, shit is different for them, for their lives, their family, those around them. So yeah, it's different. And it's different. And if anything you just get from that, to answer your question lengthily, is that you got to really open your eyes to what the concept is of fitness and immunity and like how everyone's affected differently. And I think then you'll be a little more empathetic to those people who complain about certain things, right? Around regulations and helping one another out and being safe and etc. You'll see it as a different eye.
Yeah, I've got 3 teenagers at home, so I actually asked them to get off. They should be doing schoolwork, but I think they're playing Fortnite or something. So I was like, I need the bandwidth. It's been hard getting enough bandwidth around here with everyone doing their jobs and school. So
yeah. And are you in San Francisco right now?
Yep, in the city.
Okay. How is that situation being in, we're in a little bit smaller city, but I've spent some time in San Francisco, so I know ins and outs of it. And I mean, how is everything going down where you're at?
Yeah. So I live in the Outer Sunset, so just 5-10 minutes from campus, and then only 1 or 2 blocks from Ocean Beach. So I feel lucky that I've heard the financial district is a little bit of a ghost town, and but it is a little more of a neighborhood vibe here. I have good access to the ocean. I've been surfing instead of wrestling to get out my energy almost every day. So, you know, it hasn't been too bad. It's been a pretty first world lockdown for me. You know, still ordering Thai food, still going to the grocery store. So, it's been like all things considered, you know, I have a backyard. I'm not in a 1-bedroom apartment. So I feel very lucky actually that I'm in this place in my life and location during this lockdown. Because I think if I was in a studio apartment or, you know, other situations, I might be going a little more stir crazy, and I'm already pretty stir crazy as is.
Yeah.
I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. That's where I reside. I'm in my office.
Yeah. How's
no one's
how's
coming
the
in.
situation? How's the situation in Scottsdale?
Yeah, it's all good. We're in the north of the city center, Phoenix, where it's a little bit more, I guess you would call it percentage-wise, very low relative to other big cities, but it's a little bit more serious, I guess you could say, as a matter. We're more spread out up here. Lots of sunshine, very easy to isolate and have your own space. It's not a dense area.
Yeah.
Like a subway in New York, as an example. So we got it pretty damn good, you know.
It's affecting your Costa Rica stuff.
It's a huge bummer. So we are planning on going back. We were hoping to go back in May. So we got some really great discounted tickets. And obviously everything's shut down. So we actually bought the tickets just because they were a good discount and they're allowing us to delay them. So we're hoping August. And then we have 2 retreats booked in November and February. And we've had a couple people ask, but obviously that's, you know, a long way away and nothing has been changed or canceled. But, you know, I think it's the kind of the unknown of what's coming up that has made people like, you know, do I just keep up with this? And I was like, well, yeah, November is a long way away. So we'll just keep you updated, but everything is still moving forward and we're hoping to go back this fall if everything works out. We have obviously a bunch of friends there. So I've kept in touch with them and they have where we live in Tamarindo and Langosta is really close by. And they had their first case, I think a week ago, and it's actually a friend of mine. She's okay, but she had been in New York City and came back with it, and she's getting tested, getting home visits every day, but I think she's kind of through the roughest part of it, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
So we'd been grouped together as all, you know, 60 of us or so for a couple hours. And during the meeting, the powers who be are like leaving the meeting to go take a phone call and coming back. And you can tell that like everything was just happening so fluidly. And we were getting new information every 20 minutes, every hour. And everyone was trying to exercise their connections to see like, hey, did you call so-and-so? What did they say? So it was like rumor mill all day. And, you know, we were all discussing like recruiting strategies and even looking past the tournament to like, hey, are we gonna allow to get recruits on campus next week? Like, how are we gonna do, you know, solidify X, Y, and Z? So I've definitely been making some friends over the past few years in Division II wrestling and some of the coaches. So it was good to see them at the national tournament and just hash out some strategies or just some what if scenarios for the spring that unfortunately is coming to fruition.
I sold the van. And that's when I, in earnest, actually started traveling literally from Airbnb or hotel to hotel and just a different country every few weeks. But it does get old after a while. I mean, I really enjoyed it. And I did do it more than a decade, probably about 11, 12 years maybe. And it just got very tiresome after a while. And it's real interesting. I've taken heat for this before. I don't know how you guys feel about astrology. But,
we're down.
Well, I was on the Joe Rogan show, and you know, he started getting into this big debunking thing. You know, he wants to be Mr. Debunker, and you know, he really took me to task about this astrology. You know, basically trying to make a fool of me. But this guy has been really good, and he had told me almost a year, like early in 2019, that I would want to get off the road in 2020, that there was going to be some big deal, big worldwide panic. He didn't know exactly what it was, but he kept using the word martial, like martial law or something. He says, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of martialness here. You're not going to want to be abroad. You're going to want to have a home. You're going to want to be off the road. So we took him, at his word, and not knowing what was in store, we bought a tiny home in Idaho. And I'm sorry, the tiny home was made in Idaho. We bought it in Spokane, Washington, and had a guy haul it here to Port Townsend.
Fuck, I wrote a book like 10 years ago called Endonomics. You can find it, just go to END-onomics, and it's about the end of the United States. And sadly, all my predictions are pretty much true. I didn't know about the virus, but the thing that's fucked up about this is what the fuck does a $250 million trillion bailout have to do with the fucking flu? The yield curve inverted 6 months ago. Okay, the yield curve is usually the best indicator that there's coming a recession or a depression. Okay, it's the treasury yields, and it inverted 6 months ago. So they were just looking for a fucking excuse to fucking pump $250 trillion to shore up these banks, because we were heading for another 2007. It was in the books. So, was it designed? I don't know. It's kind of interesting timing. All the freedom protests in Hong Kong, boy, those were put to a halt real quick. So,
conceptually, I see probably the shift that will occur in our society, where it has to possibly get to a Gattaca situation, where you actually have to have a social uprising against, something, because there's just too much of a spread between people that do have capital and do have access to good foods and can be in their backyard, half-acre backyard with a basketball court that no one else can touch in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? It's going to end up having to get to that.
This is going to be like the fucking TSA. We're going to end up with some shit where we end up taking our shoes off and we're late for our flights for the rest of our life because of this shit. That's my biggest problem.